Well, let's now turn our attention to a Mirror Now special focus at this point in time. Now, amid job losses, salary cuts and skyrocketing medical expenses, especially for those who have contracted COVID, insurance is usually something that a lot of people thought that they could rely on. An insurance policy is supposed to be a safeguard against unforeseen eventualities, health insurance to cover the medical costs of in case of any medical emergencies. But amidst the pandemic, what's happened is many people, despite having insurance, have been left in the lurch, from claims to being rejected to claims only being partially paid out by insurance companies, and hospitals also refusing to accept cashless claims, and of course the skyrocketing medical expenses. So all of this combined have made it very difficult for people to make the most use of insurance. And then of course there are those who have contracted COVID and who are trying to get an insurance policy, a health insurance policy, are also finding it difficult. And the latest obstacle now that has come into play here is many life insurance companies are saying that they will not sell you a life insurance policy until and unless you get vaccinated. And this is a little unfair, because at a time when the vaccines are in short supply right now, it's obviously not in all of our hands to be able to get vaccinated immediately at this point in time. So those are the obstacles that are being faced by a lot of people. And on Mirror Now, we are going to highlight each and every one of these obstacles. So over the next few days, we'll pick up one big focus area as far as insurance is concerned and talk specifically about that. What we're going to do today is focus on the COVID-related insurance claims. Now, over the past 1 year since the pandemic hit, only about 51% of the total quantum of claims have been actually paid out. This is as per data from the General Insurance Council. Now, this essentially means that despite having an insurance cover, for every 100 rupees that I claim, the insurance company is only giving me 51 rupees. So the balance 49 rupees is being paid out of pocket. There are a variety of reasons why claims can get rejected or not paid out in full, but often, irrespective of this, this comes in the time of a pandemic, and this process should be easier and not be such a burden on policyholders at this point.
Whereas we have accessed the GIC data when it comes to COVID-19 claims from the beginning of the pandemic, that is around April 2020 to May 20th, 2021. And according to that data, only 51% of the claims, COVID-19 claims that have been received till date, have been settled. Now, according to the data, as on 20th May, 15.32 lakh claims had come in, of which 12.59 lakh claims have been settled. So in terms of the number of claims received, 82% of the claims have been settled. But when you take a look at the quantum, 23,715 crores of claims have come in, of which only claims worth 12,133 crores have been settled. Only 51% of the total claims that have come in. So the out-of-pocket ratio is at 49% for customers. We also have the data when it comes to the top 5 states which have received the highest number of COVID-19 claims. Maharashtra tops the list with claims worth 7,000 crores coming in, of which 3,700 crores of claims have been settled. The out-of-pocket ratio here stands at 47% for the customers. Gujarat received claims worth 2,420 crore as on 20th May, of which 1,375 crores of claims have been settled. Tamil Nadu received 2,342 crores, of which 1,048 crore have been settled, so the out-of-pocket ratio is 55%. And then there's Karnataka with claims coming in worth 1,961 crores, of which 963 crores have been settled. The out-of-pocket ratio here is 51%. And Telangana is the 5th state with the highest claims, 1,889 crore claims, a crore worth of claims, and 832 crores of that has been settled. The out-of-pocket ratio here is the highest in Telangana at 56% for customers, followed by Tamil Nadu at 55%. Now, back in May, the claims had increased in number, is what we had picked up from industry sources. In fact, claims had doubled from the period in January when things were much better. But we understand that now the normalcy is likely to have returned. But yes, the overall numbers do show that only almost half the claims have been settled, while then the rest of the half is coming from the pocket of the customers.
Well, that's as far as the claims data is concerned and how they stack up. But let's get in some more perspective here. Harsh Rungta is joining me at this point in time. Thank you so much, Harsh, for joining us on Mirror Now. You just heard the kind of claims data that we've seen over the past year approximately, and very clearly the out-of-pocket expenses for policyholders who have the insurance policies has been extremely high, and which obviously for somebody who one would feel that insurance is something you can rely on. Obviously, it's not stood up at this point in time. And yes, there may be reasons why claims have been rejected or partially paid out. But your perspective on this?
I think if we stick to COVID alone, I think if we just sort of, not get into other, because the biggest reason for uh, rejection or paring
Yes.
down of claims in the past was a pre-existing disease. If you take that out, COVID obviously could not have been pre-existing. I mean, that's a completely new disease. So it at least circumvents the earlier contentious issue. I think the insurance industry owes it to, uh, to make sure that there is complete transparency around how claims will be settled, how much the claims will be settled. It cannot be left to the whims and fancies. And I think the regulator needs to step in. This is a global pandemic. I don't think there can be uncertainty around what claims are payable. Having said that, I think what we are seeing in this kind of claim settlement, this is the same old issue that has always existed as to what is the cost, standard cost of treatment. And if you will remember when the pandemic started, I mean, at least in Bombay, and I'm sure that played out in the rest of the country as well, the kind of charges that the hospitals were charging went completely haywire till the regulators, the municipal corporations, the state governments came in and put in a cap. And it would probably be interesting to know these claims that have not been paid, what percentage pertains to the period before the caps, the pricing caps were put in on hospitals, and what percentage is later. So I think this is a mix of two, three things. One is clearly, I think, the charging issues that is always existed between hospitals and insurance companies. And two, also very clearly, insurance company has been less than transparent on how they will settle claims.
Okay. Harsh, the big question, of course, here is in this particular case with this data that we've been seeing, where if you break down the data, as far as the number of claims are concerned, 82% of the claims have been settled. So that looks like a decent number, but the amount of claims settled has been very less. The quantum of claims, that's been just about 50% of the actual amount payable has not been paid out. So what could be the reasons, when we're talking about COVID related insurance, the reasons why these claims are partially being paid out only? We do know that hospitals have been also, the costs are extremely high, so that is one reason. But if you could tell us.
So I think both the reasons. One could be, as I mentioned, that at least in the initial phases, the hospitals charged whatever they whatever they wanted, and we heard of exorbitant bills, and you will remember the headlines from those times. And I think a part of the claims not being paid has to belong to that period as well. The second issue is also some policy terms are such that they restrict. For example, you might be eligible only for a shared room. Now here, if whatever you got, I mean, in the COVID times, nobody looked at what you were getting. I mean, if you got a bed, you just went in. And probably that could be a reason. I think this needs far more data analysis than what we have currently, but it clearly points to a required course correction even at the insurance industry end, and they cannot keep pointing fingers only at the hospitals. So I think both of them, these are all, whether it is insurance or whether it is hospital, these are public services. I mean, they may not be privately owned, but these are essential public services. And I think some kind of accountability for both the insurance companies as well as the hospitals is definitely something that needs to be done. And this long pending health regulator who will, look at regulating the hospitals, I think that is the need of the hour. And the insurance industry, I think the insurance regulator needs to make sure that people feel confident that insurance companies are there not just to take premiums, but to pay claims as well.
Yes, I think that's an extremely important point, Harsh, that you've raised in terms of, that coordination between insurers and hospitals, because policyholders are ending up getting stuck in the middle and, both sides blaming each other and obviously becoming a completely new issue that keeps cropping up. But in the event that these things happen and that policyholders are stuck, what are the remedies that one can look at? Where do you go? Where do you take your grievances? What's the process?
So I think at least the grievance process is fairly laid down, and I think it is working much better than what it used to work. There is obviously the first level of grievances within the company itself, that you file a grievance with the company. If you do not get redressal within a fixed period, I think it's 3 weeks, then you can escalate that complaint to the ombudsman. That's one route of the grievance that you can take. Then IRDA itself has a grievance redressal mechanism that is independent of the ombudsman. Ombudsman is independent. The regulator's grievance redressal is also there. And I think before the pandemic struck, it had started to work much better than what it used to be earlier. And the kind of what shall you say, very subjective rejections of claims that used to happen, that had definitely reduced. I definitely they had reduced. The standardization of health insurance policies, all those had helped. And I think this was falling into place just as the pandemic hit. And I think that has sort of taken it back, or probably even worse than what it was before all this started.
Yes, absolutely. Let's hope that a lot of these issues get resolved, because this is also going to then hit the penetration level of insurance in the country if people start to lose confidence in how insurance actually works for them. Harsh, thank you so much for joining us with all of that perspective. We'll of course continue to track various angles of this entire issue with regard to insurance. There's a lot more to be discussed over the next few days. That will be our focus here on Mirror Now.